if you have a goal and a dream and there's something that you want to do, there is a way to do it.
Welcome to Leaders of the West, a podcast for innovators and changemakers. I'm your host, Jessie Jarvis, the founder of the West, and I'm sitting down with agriculturalists, entrepreneurs, executives, and everyone in between with the goal of digging into the strategies, mindsets, and lessons that have been crucial to the success of ag and Western. Whether you're carrying on the next generation of your family's operation, starting something from scratch, or determined to climb up the leadership ladder, we're going to inspire you to continue to dream big, growing not just you, but the future of agriculture and Western as a whole. Let's go. You know what never fails to make me smile? When people reply to our newsletters. Every week, we get messages that say things like, "This was so helpful," or "I look forward to these every time they hit my inbox." And honestly, that means a lot. Because I know how many emails we all get in a day. Yes, I am biased, but our newsletters are pretty epic. They are not spammy. They are not corporate. They are built for this community. If you're in livestock, then you will get industry updates and job openings that matter to the livestock industry. There's also one for marketing and communications. And then we have one for Western sports, leadership, professional growth. We really do have a newsletter for everybody in the ag and Western industries. They are quick to read, very easy to skim, and they are always useful. And if you already get them, first of all, thank you. But also, will you do me a favor and forward one on to a friend? Because that is how our circle grows. If you're not on the list yet, it is really easy to join. You can pick the ones that fit you best at ofthewest.co/newsletters. They're one of those little things that make your inbox better. You guys are in for a real treat today because our guest is a history maker in the Western world. Tiah DeGrofft grew up with Pendleton Round-Up in her blood. She started out as a volunteer, later serving as a princess, then as a queen, and eventually stepping into leadership roles behind the scenes. And if you know anything about the Pendleton Round-Up, all of that sounds great. But in 2023, she made history as the first female president of the Pendleton Round-Up Association, leading one of the most iconic rodeos in the world into a new era. With nearly 4 decades of involvement, from sponsorships to strategy, she has a sports marketing degree. She has seen every side of what makes Pendleton so special, what it is about rodeo and Western heritage and Native American culture that is so special, but also is very aware of what we have the potential to do to bring all of those elements to new heights. As I mentioned, she brings such a unique perspective to our sport because she has a professional background in marketing, including time spent with the PGA Tour, which allows her to really blend lessons from both arenas to elevate Western sports. I think that Tiah's story is one of tradition and grit and just trailblazing leadership, and I am so excited to hear from her today. So let's get right to the show. Welcome to Leaders of the West with Tiah DeGrofft. Tiah, your connection to Pendleton Round-Up and the community of Pendleton, Oregon, it goes way back because your late father, he was a director. You have served as a volunteer. You were part of the court, both as a princess and a queen, which if anybody knows anything about the Pendleton Round-Up, you know just how iconic the Pendleton Round-Up court is, where those queens and princesses come flying in on their horses and jumping the fence. It truly is something to witness in person. But what does it mean to you to have personally lived nearly every layer of tradition with the Pendleton Round-Up?
You know, I've tried so many times to put this into words, and of course, it's an incredible honor. I think being from Pendleton, I obviously have a special place for the Roundup in my heart, but it's such an iconic rodeo, and it means so much to so many people. I think I've loved that about traveling with the Roundup and hearing everyone's stories about it. So for me, it was just how I grew up. My dad, as you mentioned, was a director. And so he started taking me down to the rodeo grounds as a little kid. And I started helping out and volunteering and doing anything I could. And so I didn't know any different. I thought that's just kind of what you did until I moved to Rhode Island. And then it was really sad that Roundup and Christmas were the only 2 times I got to come home. But it was important to me to keep volunteering and giving back to the community. That's something my parents instilled in me. And so I think my journey has just really come pretty naturally. every step has built on the next step. And it's just been my complete honor to get to represent the Roundup in so many different ways. When I was 18 years old, I didn't think that there was anything better than being a princess. And then they let me be queen at 21. And I kind of thought that was going to be the end of my journey. And then I would go back and just be a volunteer. And then at that time, no women had been on the board of directors. And so to have the opportunity to serve on the board and then ultimately serve as president has just been an absolute honor.
Oh, there is so much to unpack there. Let's start though with that early experience, especially serving on the court, because as I mentioned before, it is just so iconic. How did that shape your perspective on Roundup and its role in the community? Because not only are you actively there for basically the week that is Roundup, but you also represent Pendleton Roundup traveling across country, especially across Oregon, taking part in a number of parades. Like literally when you go on the first day, the first performance on Wednesday, it's not your first rodeo. You have been actively representing Pendleton Roundup all season. And you did it twice, obviously as a princess and then again as queen. So I can imagine that really just shifted your perspective.
Yeah, our royal court travels nearly 17,000 miles. They have, I don't know, 175 different appearances that they do, from rodeos to going to visit schools to parades, all sorts of things. And so it really shaped me as a person. I mean, I think that was, my mom was very strict at the dinner table, but that was my first formal like etiquette lessons and etiquette training, and learning to write thank you letters and learning to walk into a room with your head held high and go speak to a stranger. It gave me a sense of confidence. And then, all the public speaking, I ended up going into a communications and public speaking kind of role with my career. So I think it shaped me. But I think the thing that I really noticed was how much the Pendleton Roundup means to so many people outside of Pendleton. I mean, it's everybody's bucket list rodeo. They love the opportunity to come up to you and tell you about this one time that they went with their grandpa and they sat in the West grandstands and they had a bucket of beer, or their first experience there, or that it's always been on their bucket list. And so they want to come and do that. But down to, the little kids are so excited to see you. The businesses in Pendleton really rely on the Pendleton Roundup and the tourism that comes to town. And so you hear that from their perspective and what the Roundup means off the rodeo grounds. A lot of people don't realize that most of our concession stands, most of the parking lots, most of the camping grounds, all of that are run by working charities. And it's their biggest fundraiser of the year. And so again, those people, every time you come across someone at an event, they're saying like, oh my gosh, I serve beer in the Rotary booth. And because I got the opportunity to do that, we could give out high school scholarships or, whatever it may be. And so everyone has a Pendleton Roundup story, and it means so much to so many people that I think it helped me realize how much bigger the Pendleton Roundup is than just 4 days of rodeo on that big grass arena.
So when I was in Pendleton for the 2025 Roundup, I was talking with our mutual friend, Kelsey Bostick, and she was telling me that there are more than 1,200 volunteers. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I don't think that she'd be wrong, but I just want to hear it from your lips.
Yeah, from across the grounds, from Roundup to Happy Canyon, we have about 1,200 volunteers. That ebbs and flows. Obviously, unfortunately, we lose some each year.
Mm-hmm.
But we also gain some. We try really hard to bring kids in just like I did and have them grow up down at the Roundup grounds and have it a part of who they are. And that kind of is our own internal breeding ground for new volunteers, because they just want to keep coming back year after year. So we do. We have anything from gate pullers to the guys bringing ice around to all the concession stands to taking tickets at the door or checking you into a parking lot. Nearly every function that you see, including our board of directors, is all volunteer.
I mean, when people think about the fact that Pendleton, I wouldn't classify it as being a large town. I mean, there's definitely industry there. There is a Walmart. It's not small, but it is not massive when you think about the fact that 1,200 volunteers are what drive the Roundup for the week that it is there. I mean, that's got to be a significant percentage of the population. And it really just goes to show the type of culture that's been created in that people want to go take part and they want to spend and gift their time doing that. It just really says a lot about the history and the heritage and also the future of the rodeo as well.
I think it's just so selfless of the community. Like, most people get 3 to 4 weeks vacation at their day job, and these people are giving up an entire week of that to come work. And some of the jobs are like scraping manure and, get down there at 5
Yeah, they're
a.m.
not fun.
But they're not glamorous positions. And these people are taking that as their vacation time. But we have, most of our volunteers are from right here in Pendleton, but we do, when I was sponsor director, I had a lot of them that came from the Portland area, a few of them that came from the East Coast, and somehow they always had a tie back to Pendleton that got them started volunteering. But just like me, when I moved to Rhode Island, I came home every year to volunteer. And we even, like, our schools shut down here. So the kids start school about 2 weeks before Roundup, and then they go Monday and I believe Tuesday. They may have Tuesday off now, but they go Monday and Tuesday of Roundup week. And then they get the rest of the week off because the school district saw that attendance was so bad during Roundup week. All the kids were down volunteering or watching or taking part in some way, shape, or form, so that we now use all the school grounds as camping grounds. People can park their RVs and tents there so that they can attend, and we close down the school.
I love that. You know what else that kind of reminds me of, just because it's in the season of when we are recording this? Similar, but different. And I don't know where else they do this, but I know this is a thing in Eastern Idaho. So kind of around the last week of September, first week of October, schools will shut down for spud harvest. And so kids, because again, same thing, they saw how many kids weren't coming to school because they were in the thick of helping their family operations. They know how many of those operations need children and their help, or again, like a volunteer, if we can go do it as a club or an FFA organization or a basketball team and go help. But I just think that that is so cool when schools recognize not only the impact that their students have outside, but how much of an impact that event has on them.
Yeah, I think too. So, like I said, so many people are involved in ways that are fundraising during Roundup, and those are the organizations that are giving academic scholarships back out to our community. And so it really kind of benefits them. It's fun. Roundup gives almost $100,000 worth of sponsorships each year. And so we get to go around to the high schools in May when they do their scholarship banquets and give those out. But it's so fun to watch how many of our working charities are up there on stage giving kids scholarships too.
Oh, well, one of the things that I wanted to talk about on this episode was not just about Pendleton Roundup, but about you specifically, for a couple of reasons. So I think by now it's been established you are the very first female president of Roundup. But one of the things that I find most fascinating about you, and this is actually something that I learned while sitting in the bleachers on the Wednesday performance number 1 of Pendleton 2025, and that is you have a degree in sports marketing. I did not realize prior to hearing the announcer say that, which then, again, knowing who you are, watching you run your horse around the track, thinking that makes so much sense. How did your degree in sports marketing and then working with the PGA Tour, how did that influence the way that you see just Western sports in general, and how you think about rodeo as a sport and as an event and just the future of what it is that we're doing here in the West?
Well, people think I'm crazy because I got my start in professional golf. And strangely enough, golf and rodeo are very similar in funny ways. They're both very traditional. They're both very old sports. They're both relationship-built sports.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think my sports marketing degree coming over to the Pendleton Roundup really helped me. I came in as sponsor director, and that's what I'd done in professional sports. I'd always worked on the sponsorship side of it, not necessarily the selling, but mostly the fulfillment and sponsor relations kind of side. And so when I came to Roundup, knowing that we don't have advertising in the arena, knowing that, we don't have your normal ROI that a sponsor is going to get when they sponsor any other rodeo in the world, it was a fun challenge for me to look and see, like, okay, how can we make this better? How can I give value to our sponsors? What can I do? And it kept coming back to relationships and experience. So again, coming from a golf background, my first year on the board, I started talking to our then president, Bill Levy, and we came up with the concept of the 1910 room, which is a little like you would find on a golf course on an 18th hole. It's a hospitality venue that is all inclusive with your cocktails and your food and your restrooms and that kind of thing. It's come a long way since then, but I think those are the kind of things that I was able to dig into and say, okay, here's this event that has been highly successful for 100 years, but what can we do to make it better? And, you have to find those little things, those little details that you can polish and truly make it an experience. And then when I came back to the sponsors, it was like, here is your chance to build your relationships, to have hospitality. And I would always tell them, you don't have to sign on the dotted line. Come be my guest for Roundup for 1 year, and then we'll come back and talk about your sponsorship. And there wasn't a single person in my 8 years of being sponsor director that came to Roundup and didn't sign up to be a sponsor. Once they put their feet on our dirt and felt the event and saw the electricity and saw what they could do then with their company, whether it be, giving tickets to their employees or bringing in clients to help entertain them, as soon as they got there, they were like, oh, yeah, we want to be a part of this.
It is because, again, they can see it. It can be so difficult for us to envision things, but when we see something in the flesh, it makes us that much more real, which I guess is honestly part of why Pendleton is a bucket list rodeo for so many people, because now with the Cowboy Channel, they're able to watch it on TV. And so many people who had just heard of it by name now know exactly what it entails and why it is so cool. But that is not enough. People want to come experience it for themselves, which says just a lot about the history and what you guys have done to make it the event that it is. But rodeo is competing against concerts and professional sports and every other kind of live entertainment. So what do you think Western events need to do to stay relevant and bring in new audiences? I'm curious to get your take.
Yeah, right now, ride the wave. I mean, I love how popular rodeo and Western events are right now. We're seeing, Beyonce came out with a country album, and Yellowstone has kind of brought the quote unquote Western way of life into a mainstream home. I think this is a really exciting time. Even fashion, for a long time to get a pair of boots, you had to go to the feed store. Well, now you can go to Nordstrom and buy a pair of cowboy boots. It's really becoming mainstream. So first and foremost, ride it while you can, but use that to capture young people and to capture new fans. And once you get them there, then it becomes, how do you keep them? Do you have a retention program? Do you have season tickets that somebody can buy that gives them the opportunity then to come back every single year? They're, signing up to come back every single year. What do you have that's family friendly so that mom and dad can come and have a good time? They can bring their kids and the kids are going to have a good time. I really think you have to kind of captivate all of that now and capitalize on it. Stay grounded in who you are, what you do, what you know. I think, unfortunately, I've seen some rodeos that say, well, right now I have a sponsor that is going to increase my purse. That's fantastic. But if that sponsor goes away, are you going to be able to maintain that? Because it's going to be a black eye if you go backwards on the purse that you're offering. That's not going to look good for you. So, grow, but don't go crazy with your growth, and really look at where you're investing into that growth. And then again, make it an experience. Every town can be a destination. Every town is a destination. Show them why. They don't know what you have to offer, but if you can get them there and give them a good experience and show them, I use Chief Joseph Days as a great example of that. It is a teeny tiny little town. It's not super easy to get to, but once you're there, it's breathtaking with the lake and the cute shopping and the beautiful rodeo, and everybody wants to go there. So capitalize on that. But I think every town has something. If you're Walla Walla, Washington, you have great wine. Tri-Cities, Washington has the same thing. Every town has something that makes them unique. Make that a part of your fans' experience.
Well, and yeah, thinking about other wildly successful rodeos, Cheyenne, same thing. It has an incredible town. Deadwood, the coolest little town. If you've never been to Deadwood, I mean, that's part of why Days of 76 is as successful as it is. And then obviously the stock show element of Fort Worth and Houston and those Texas rodeos. But there are a ton of rodeos that are in such cool areas. And that is part of why they do so well, is I think that they really pour into the community, and then vice versa, the community really pours into them. And I know obviously we're talking specifically about rodeo here, but I just think that that is such a cool example and metaphor of how we can all continue to grow and think of new experiences, whether it's in work, like what we do with Of the West? How can we host an event and really go all in on the area that we are doing it in to make it a destination? Or if you're a member-driven organization or association and you have your annual meeting coming up, like how can you really pour into the community? And same thing, but I think that like you are so right on the making something an experience. The other thing that I will say on that, and again, I'm kind of monopolizing the conversation. This is your podcast, not mine. But one of the things that I have seen firsthand is when it comes to retailers in small areas, like downtown areas, let's say there's one retailer like on a main street and then another retailer comes in, and it may not be identical, but the first retailer who was there says, well, I was there first. I don't want competition. I don't want somebody else coming in here. How many of us have ever actually stopped our car and parked and gotten out on a whim when we saw one cute store in an area? We don't.
Right.
But if you see 3 or 4 of them, what are you going to do? You're going to stop your car and you're going to park because you see, oh, if one of them isn't the right fit for me, there's going to be another one. Like it makes it a destination. So in that example, more business is actually better than less business because more business is going to physically bring in more business for everybody. But it's just that mindset shift of like, oh no, somebody else is coming in and is going to be my competition. No, like you are just continuing to make your downtown area a destination for more shoppers.
Oh, 100%. And then also it just gives you a good opportunity to like provide better customer service. I mean, again, you don't want to make it a competition, but if you have very similar things, something might fit you that I'm 6 feet tall. Like, the jeans that fit me aren't going to fit everybody. So we're kind of looking for different things. But also if you come in and you're greeted with a happy face and everyone, you have this great customer service, they're going to remember that. And the next time through your town, they're going to stop in. And whether your competition is still there or they were a pop-up boutique that was just there for your event or whatever it is, like they're going to remember that and keep coming back or find your website and shop with you online. So, you're making fans in everything that you do, but you're absolutely correct. If you can partner with a wine shop that somebody can pop in and get a glass of wine and go shopping next door. And then you might have a couch section for the husbands that want to sit and relax.
Always a need.
Fort Worth does that really well. You walk in and the women go shopping and they're like, sir, may I get you a beer? And the guys sit down on a couch and have a Coors Light.
They're not bothering their wife about when they're going to be done. Like occasionally there's even a TV in there so they can watch a game or whatever that looks like. I mean, no, you're so spot on. And that's not just done by chance. It's done by design. And I think when we want to host any kind of premier event, mastermind, summit, a rodeo, whatever it may be, you really do have to go all in on those details and think about things in such an intentional way, which the details are really what matters.
100%. And I say that quite a bit about Pendleton that, we're 115 years old at this point. There's not sweeping changes that we come in and make. That's what makes us who we are. But we're also not just sitting and resting on our laurels. You have to find those little tiny nuggets and keep polishing them. And that goes for anything. That's your business, your website, your online presence, your whatever you're out there doing. Nobody is doing it absolutely perfectly. You have to keep finding what it is that you can upgrade and keep upgrading it and trying to make it a little bit better and a little bit different and keeping it fresh.
So let's talk about things that are fresh. When you serve as president of the Pendleton Round-Up, you serve for a 2-year term, and you have now served your 2 years. So you are in a fresh new position of no longer being the president. So what exactly do you have on plan? Like what is next for the history maker that is Tiah?
I actually don't have set plans, again, kind of by design. It's a 10-year commitment on the Roundup board. If 8 years as a director, 2 years as president, I kind of wanted to figure myself out for a minute and just take a beat and see who I am and what direction it is that I want to go. I've spent so much of I have a full-time job because being president of the Pendleton Round-Up does not pay your bills. So I still work for Columbia Distributing, the local Coors distributor in Oregon and Washington. And I'm loving that. I think my boss is going to love having me back in the office a little more often.
I would imagine so.
And, as far as like rodeo is concerned, I'll continue to be a volunteer. Our past presidents sit as advisory council for budgetary changes and policy changes. I'm still pretty active in quite a few initiatives that Roundup is working on with various companies throughout the United States. And so until those get to a spot where it makes sense for me to step down, I'll continue to be involved in those. There's organizations like ARC, the Association of Rodeo Committees, that I really enjoy being a part of and hope to continue with that. And I think, and technically, I'm president of the Pendleton Round-Up until mid-November. That's when our transition will happen. And then we turn around and go to Las Vegas for the PRCA conference. So I think by January, I'll have a better grasp on really like what I want to do next and where I want to go. But I definitely want to continue volunteering for the Pendleton Roundup and in rodeos. I've had a lot of fun kind of freelance consulting and not even getting paid, volunteer consulting for other rodeos and trying to help them to do better. So I would love to continue that. But for right now, I just take a deep breath and see where the chips are going to land when I have some time to actually hear my own thoughts in my head.
Well, on that note, though, let's talk about we've dug really deeply into just your trajectory of volunteer in court and boardroom and president. But what do you hope that full circle story really inspires in other women and young people who are watching you?
Oh, I hope that they realize, as simple as it sounds, is that like she relentlessly followed her dreams and I can too. I love to mentor other girls and I'm really lucky that I get to spend a lot of time with like our queen in court and they come back to me and ask me questions later about when they're out of college and ready to start careers. And the one thing I tell them is find what you're passionate about and then it doesn't feel like work. So
Mm-hmm.
my whole life had been sports marketing. I lived in the greater Boston, Rhode Island area, owned a sports marketing company back there. And my dad got diagnosed with cancer, and I was just too far from home. So I decided to move back to Pendleton, which everyone thought essentially meant giving up my sports marketing career. And it did to an extent. But I went to work
But look
for
at you now.
yeah, exactly. That's kind of, where I'm headed is that I went to work for the casino here in town, handling all of their sports sponsorships. And now I'm with Columbia and I get to handle a lot of their rodeo sports sponsorships. And I got to fulfill that with the Pendleton Roundup. And that really helped me with my sports marketing. And, there's not necessarily quote unquote professional sports in Pendleton when you're thinking the NBA or the NFL. So lucky for me, I love rodeo, but I think if you have a goal and a dream and there's something that you want to do, there is a way to do it.
Oh,
You're proof of that as well. I mean, you have done incredible things from right there on your ranch in Idaho that have impacted people all over the United States and probably further than that. So, if you have a dream, chase it. You can do it.
oh, well, thank you for those kind words. But I wholeheartedly agree. If you have a dream, chase it. Okay, I want to ask you our rapid fire round questions. What do you hope people remember most about you?
I hope that they remember that I led by example, that I, was passionate and kind and that I truly, love what I do down to my core. And I hope that that shines through.
What is a non-negotiable in your life?
Surround yourself with good people. They'll be there in the good and the bad. I have an amazing circle around me and they're all doing really great things. My mom told me when I was a little kid, like you are who you hang out with. I think there's another saying out there that you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. So make sure you're surrounding yourself with really good people.
If you were a professional athlete, what would your walk-up song be?
If you listen to my iPad, it's like George Strait to like the Chronic album from Dr. Dre. It's all over the map. Boy, I would say, I guess I kind of have 2 hype songs. One would either be like Eminem, Lose Yourself, like you get one shot. This is my only option.
Yes.
Fail. Or there's, I think it's Kaylee Shore. She has Fight Like a Girl. There's a line in there that says, I'm perfume sweet, but whiskey strong. I'm damn sure not an underdog. And
Ooh.
it's just a really good like girl power. And, I live in a man's world between like the beer industry, the sports industry, the rodeo industry. And so sometimes I feel like I got to fight like a girl. And that doesn't necessarily mean throwing a weak punch. It means putting on your high heels and walking in and kicking some butt.
I love that. What is the smartest thing that anyone has told you?
Oh, shoot. I have 5 of them posted on my wall. So
Okay, let's do all 5. We're here for it.
I guess it's 4. Never be the smartest person in the room. Do shit that scares you. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And then say yes and figure it out afterwards.
I feel like I have all of those posted on my wall as well. Maybe this is why we're kindred spirits.
Yep. Yep. I love it. Kind of depends on the moment which one you need to follow.
Right? I agree with that. It's, pick a day, pick a saying. Okay, last question for you. Let's talk about favorite things. Do you have a favorite podcast, program, book? Maybe it's like a service, a life hack, just something that has changed your life and you think more people need to know about it.
Well, I guess it kind of goes back to the last question. Invest in yourself. So, like, prioritize becoming more knowledgeable or better at something.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know that I have a favorite podcast or favorite, like, I guess if you ask me my favorite book, Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, great book. You can learn a lot from that. But, like, as far as podcasts and books go, I will get on something like right now. I'm really into figuring out how to make my money work for me instead of like just having a 401k and a savings account. I really want to like be better with my money. And so I find myself on like a podcast that'll kind of teach you about investments, but then they'll mention something that will get me on another podcast
Mm-hmm.
or, I'll like the speaker. And so I'll follow more of what they're doing. So I kind of jump from podcast to podcast, either that or I want to laugh and just have a relaxing moment. So like, Kylie Kelsey, Erin Andrews with Calm Down. That's a great podcast. Coleman Proctor and Luke Branquino have great rodeo podcasts. Ed Milet, if you need like a business kick in the pants, I really like his. So I don't know. I kind of jump from place to place with my podcast.
I love that though. It's like your playlist, right? A little
Exactly.
Dr. Dre, a little George Strait. So, and the same way, I will kind of binge listen. Like I'll listen to, let's say, The Skinny Confidential, and then I'll listen to Emma Grede for 10 episodes, and then I'll listen to Chris Harder, like whatever it is.
Yep.
I do. I kind of get like sucked into someone's rabbit hole, and then I find something else, and like to no fault. It's just like, oh, this was recommended to me, so I'm going to listen to it. And then I just want to keep listening to that. Jeff Fenster, same way. So,
Yep. 100%. I do the same thing.
yes. Okay. Well, where can people follow you online? And then I'm sure you know this, but if Pendleton Roundup is on somebody's bucket list, can you tell us the dates for 2026? And I think tickets usually go on sale in January. Is that correct?
They do. They haven't released the date yet, but it is usually in early January. And the dates were always the second full week in September. And I think next year that puts you right around like the 13th to the 19th.
Yes, I think that's what it is.
I think it is 13th through the 19th, second full week. And follow me online. I am on Facebook and Instagram, just as Tiah DeGrofft. There aren't a ton of us, especially the way I spell it. So TIAH, last name DEGROFFT. And then, of course, at PendletonRoundup.com. And if you haven't checked it out, Letterbuck.com is our online retail store. And they have some really cute stuff on there coming into the Christmas season.
I am so glad you brought that up because I will tell you guys, I'm not a merch fan. Like I'm not a merch person. I have been to the NFR how many times? I have never once gotten any kind of NFR merch. My instant stop when I stop that car in Pendleton is I walk over to the Roundup store. I buy the merch. The caps are out of this world. I wear them everywhere. I always get compliments. Where did you get that hat? Where did you get, you guys, you have to go. Did you say it's letterbuck.com?
Yes. Yep. They do. Our retail store does an incredible job. And I mean, the bucking horse has become iconic and that brand has been very fun to help grow. But I love the variety in there too. You're right that the caps, but like even just like the soft, nice t-shirts. And I mean, you can get golf balls, you can get blankets, you name it, you can find it in there.
Oh yeah, there's wall decor and there's such cool stuff too. When I was in there this fall, there were like some Native American history books, just tons of cool stuff. Anything that you could imagine. Pendleton has put their stamp on it in a good way. Tiah, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today. You guys, we will be back next week, a brand new episode of the show. You are going to love our guests. We're kind of keeping up with the rodeo theme, so get excited about that. Whatever you love most about the show, please share it in your stories. Tag myself, tag Of the West, Tiah. We want to hear what you loved. And of course, send it over to a friend. We love that. We also love when you guys give us a 5-star rating and a review over on Apple. So if you want to do that, if it's been a while, or if you haven't yet, if you're a new listener, we so appreciate that. But thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week. If you loved this episode, do us a favor and share it with someone else who might find just as much value in it as you did. We're on a mission to continue to grow and strengthen the future of agriculture and Western industries, and you spreading the word helps us make more of a positive impact. It also makes a big difference when you take a minute to go rate and review the show. We can't thank you enough for listening, for sharing, and for loving Ag and Western as much as we do. We'll see you back here for our next episode.